Good morning, everyone. This is Mortgage Pros 411. I'm Audrey Boyceno with Kevin Casey. And today we are joined by Micheal Roldan with the FBI. That's right, the FBI. I'm imagining that's the reason we had a delay is because there was some sort of FBI agent sitting on our Zoom line making this impossible. Good Lord. What do you think? No? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the FBI
No
just doesn't
comment.
want to work with Zoom. That's what it is.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so just
I think maybe the link you sent the FBI agent, Audrey, had to be screened.
maybe. Okay, so just a little note, we are part of the Crispin Media lineup. So make sure you're checking out the Crispin commentary and all the offerings they have. And also we are deep in the middle of NMLS renewal season. Have you guys done your NMLS renewals? Have you? Have you?
I have.
I know, me too.
Actually, I do have one more Oregon hour to get
All right,
rid of.
yeah. Well, get on it, buddy. But anyway, you want to make sure you get that done, and live is fun and better. We are having a blast doing these classes. It's really great. So make sure you sign up with someone who is not boring. And there you go. So, oh, Jenny says she did it back in July. Yeah, she's an A student, obviously. Not sitting in the back of the class. Just want to quickly note, because it was such a big thing last week, the longshoremen went back to work. So apparently, though, they're back to work and they settled, like they made the money thing is somehow mostly worked out, but they still haven't reached a compromise on the automation component. So yeah, that's great. Anyway, so there you go. Yes. Yes, and yes, we have a CE class this week in Westlake Village. So that'll be great. All right, moving right along. Micheal, we met a few months ago, and it was very interesting talking to the FBI. And there are so many parts of the mortgage business that are touched by you and, well, not you, well, probably you personally, but by the FBI, because you're looking at all the things that impact us, right?
Yes. No, that's right.
Yes. So we're really happy to have you here. And I think, and just note people that this is great information, not just about mortgages, but about things that you can warn your clients about, your relatives, the ones who will listen, that is, and make sure that you're aware of what is happening out there, because it is just crazy. Like back in the day, it was things like, someone might be forging a VOE or bunking a CPA letter. Now the list of things that are happening with the criminals is just, it's so long, we could probably talk for a week, which we won't, so don't be alarmed. So with that being said, just let's start with what is top of mind for you, Micheal, at the FBI? Like, what are you seeing the most as with regards to mortgages and fraud and what you're investigating?
Well, just the biggest thing that we're seeing right now, and it's not necessarily just affecting the mortgage industry, but I will bring up an example of a financial professional who fell victim to one of these scams. And one of these scams was a cryptocurrency romance scams. They're also called pig butchering scams. So recently we got a complaint about a financial professional who was in the business of selling annuities. And this person got an email from a interested customer who said they wanted to purchase a multi-million-dollar annuity. So this person, of course, is suspicious right away because said, why is this person so interested so quickly in purchasing one of these things? But also, it's a large commission, so very similar to the real estate industry. This person could see a potential 10, 15, 20, 30, $40,000 commission. So that's substantial. So this person kind of dropped their guard a little bit, even told the boss, and they were suspicious, but because the person on the other end of the email was using common language from that profession and from that industry, they kind of dropped their guard a little bit. And here's what happened after that. The subject then had them switch over to a common messaging app, and then they went back and forth, in talking about how this other person made their fortune. And then the topic of cryptocurrency came up. And then this person says, yes, I've made tons of money in this and that. The financial professional, he had the financial professional, hey, you can just try out a little bit. I'll even help you out. I'll give you some money myself. The financial professional he had them download a common platform, one that's, there's a lot of them out there, but a
Okay.
common platform that's legitimate, and then had them use a link that was sent to them on their cell phone to download this a malicious app, one which looks like a regular app, looks common, looks normal, but is actually controlled by the subject.
Wow.
The the subject then has the individual put a little bit of money into the legitimate app and then send over the cryptocurrency over to this malicious app. So on this malicious app, it looks like any platform that you would download. A legitimate platform looks exactly alike, but it's really being controlled by the bad actor. So it looks like the person's making gains. So that's what they always do. They'll have you start out with a little bit and then get the people excited, get the victims excited. Oh, I'm making money. Then they start putting in more and more, and then they have them recruit their friends. And then at a certain point, they'll realize, oh my gosh, I've been scammed. When they try to pull their money out, they get hit with a huge, for example, huge tax bill, and that's their last ditch effort of trying to get more money, extract more money out of this. And the victim in this case only found out that it was a scam because they tried to recruit one of their family members or friends into it, and then they sent them YouTube videos about how these people have been scammed in pig butchering and things like that. Now, that doesn't necessarily directly relate to the mortgage industry, but we're seeing so much of this now. I mean, I believe it was over 12 billion in losses for IC3, and a large portion of that was through these pig butchering schemes. So everybody is falling, from all walks of life, are falling victim to this scam.
Yeah, I have a financial advisor who told me that he had an investor who was very successful, had made millions of dollars over the years. He lost $750,000 to one of these scams and was embarrassed. He didn't want to report it. He didn't want to tell anyone. He felt ashamed. It was horrible, horrible. And I read last year that Americans lost $5.6 billion in cryptocurrency fraud scams. So it is a big, big, big problem, and it keeps growing. And the way that they're operating these scams and getting to people keep growing. And it's to the point where I'm afraid to click on anything. So what are your, I mean, obviously, if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And the fact that both this person and the manager both had some suspicions and went ahead anyway. I mean,
You
what
did it. Yeah.
I mean, so you cannot ignore your instincts. It's really important that we're really paying attention to your spidey sense.
No, definitely. And I would say, I say this for everybody. Whenever I give presentations at senior centers, whenever I talk with the private sector, be proactive. Be proactive in protecting yourself. There's a website. It's called ic3.gov, and you can report internet-related crime on it. It's also filled with a lot of information. It has PSAs, public service announcement. It has all the newest scams that have been released to the public. So you could take a long time and just read through that, and it'll educate you. Make sure you pass the word to your friends and family. And this really has to just be everybody has to be involved in this. We need to get the word out.
Michael, what's that website again?
It's ic3.gov.
Charles.
Yeah, India, Charlie,
3.
and then the number 3, and then .gov.
.gov.
Great. I can count to 3 in so many languages, it would blow your mind, but I'll spare you right now. So, okay, so let's talk about how the criminals are getting to us. And one of the ways is through unsecure email, right? So a lot at Gmail is a big problem. LOs and realtors who are using unsecure email accounts, huge problem, right?
So yeah, and that could be with no matter what the email address is, it's just the bad guys, they target it, and we're being told that they just send out spam emails across, sending out as many emails as they can, and they're just hoping to get access to your email. They're hoping you click on that malware laden link. So, just having using your virus software, having everything, making sure that you're careful of what you send through email, because once the bad guys get a hold, once they're in, especially like a real estate professional or somebody who does loans or any financial professional, their email is going to contain, it's going to contain a target list of potential victims for them, because they get a customer's email. They're going to be able to they're able to use the stuff that's available online, that's
Right.
all available that they can get. They're able to craft fake emails where they're trying to get people to send their down payments,
To the wrong
fake wiring instructions.
fake wiring
So yeah,
instructions.
it's just
Yeah.
really important to keep all of those, to really educate your customers on safety, making sure that they independently verify everything.
This is a great topic for LOs who are looking for reasons to talk to their borrowers. So, some people think, oh, I have a rate, they have rates of 2.5. Why would they want to talk to me? You can call them and talk to them and say, hey, I know you have a business. I know that you have email. I know that whatever. And I just want to reach out and share some of these things with you just so you're aware. I read this morning in Crispin Commentary that on average, cyber attackers spend 285 days living in a network before they're noticed. 285 days. And if you look back at our show we did on cybersecurity not too long ago, they'll sit and watch for 18 months at a time. I mean, they're patient. They're really patient. So they just wait for it, and they're just paying attention. And then we let our guard down and poof, they swoop in. And so it is something, how effective is changing your password? Is that stopping them, slowing them down? Like, is that doing anything for us?
I mean, I think that's probably pretty good practice to do, but the criminals, the technologies that they're using, and like you said, they can be patient. Once they're in somewhere, they're just waiting for that chance to strike. So I think the virus software, if you have a business, that's not something you want to skimp on. And just being aware that also with AI, the subjects, the bad guys the technology is getting better on their side as well, even though we may have technology that can help us, but they're also using it as well.
So are they using AI and saying, hey, how do I scam somebody? And AI is telling them how to do it?
Yeah, and yes, definitely to a certain extent. I mean, they're using it in business email compromise so that they sound better. So recently there was, I believe it was a company in Hong Kong where the subjects actually created a video, kind of like how we're on video right now, with people walking around in the background, and it was one of the heads of the company that was being faked, and the person sent $25 million or something along those lines. So I mean, the technology is getting really, really good. So they're also using it so scammers will sound better by voice. They're using it so that what they type is better, so that the English is better. I mean, they're just it's everything. Yeah.
Traditionally, fraudsters used to actually include a typo, just so they didn't feel bad that they're scamming the people. It's like they should have known because it was a typo that this was a scam. Therefore, I don't feel bad that I've ripped these people off. Now you're saying they don't feel bad at all. They just rip people off.
They don't give a crap. You think they're gonna feel
Well, no, it was a weird
bad
little
that they-
thing about why there was always little typos in these things. And the theory was that they left them in there to kind of like, hey, if you're this stupid to fall for this, then I can take your money.
I thought no, I think it's because they didn't have AI back then and they didn't bother spell checking things. I mean, that's whatever the motivation is. I just, it's mind boggling that they spend so much time, energy, and effort on this kind of thing. So with the AI, you had mentioned that they're making IDs using AI too. Can you explain that?
Yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, with the computer graphics, they're able to make them just look really real, and they're making them look better nowadays. So it's, I mean, even just I feel like just 10, 15 years ago, these guys, the subjects who would make fake IDs and things like that, they had pretty good technology back then. I think that now with, I mean, being able to make a photo look very realistic, maybe even, and I'm not sure, I know that many of the government agencies, they attempt to use watermarks and different things to differentiate their IDs, but with AI, the potential for counterfeiting those is a lot higher now.
I
So
heard
the
someone
students
say
are
that.
in heaven right now, aren't they? Since getting going drinking on your AI generated identification's got to be a hell of a lot easier, right?
Yes. So someone told me that if they were talking to someone that was an AI video, that if you tell them to touch their nose, they can't touch their nose if they're AI generated. Is that true? Because I can't even imagine where I'm talking to a video.
I'm not sure. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that with the technology, it feels like it's getting stronger and stronger as are getting better and better. By every passing day, it'd probably be able to figure out how to do that.
So, okay, so this business, let's go back to business email compromise. So your suggestion for best practices, I know for me, with my clients, I start with the initial conversation. I mention the whole wire fraud and what could potentially happen and what to look out for. I say it verbally. I know a lot of people put it in their signature lines. Frankly, it's just not enough. People don't read everything. They forget. So I say it the initial conversation, then I say it again. Then when they're going to send their wire, then I say it again. That you know what I mean? I repeat it multiple times throughout the process so that they then when something does come up, and it did once for a client of mine, and they're like, "Oh my God, I've heard this before." So, do you have other suggestions that would help us advise our clients more effectively?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, definitely your clients to avoid any type of scam. Just be really careful of what you share online because a lot of these scams, they will use, especially with like AI, they can use your voice and likeness and photos and things like that. Now, I'm not telling people not to do those things, but just be careful of what you have online and be careful of those things because actually another quickly before I forget about it, a scam that can be used by using voices is and by copying people's voices using AI would be a kidnapping scam. So if your relative or friend or whatever has their voice or picture or whatever available online, that could potentially be used by bad guys who say that, hey, we've kidnapped your nephew and we're holding them for ransom. Send $20,000 or $10,000 to this crypto address or whatever. And they were able to use the voice of their nephew and make it sound realistic. It used to even work before they had that, but now with AI, it's even more prevalent. Um,
I've told the story that my dad got a phone call from someone saying they were his grandson, my son, and they wanted a ransom and they needed his help. And I'm like, they called the wrong grandpa because my dad was like, nope. Like I'm like, I mean, he just figured, oh, there must be, must be something. He didn't even know it was a scam, but he's like, nope, not getting involved. Click. I'm like, yeah, you gotta make sure
that's
you're
great.
targeting the right grandparents who might actually engage. So anyway, but it happens. Like it happened to my
No, definitely.
I mean, and to think, I mean, okay, if you're calling, someone else's grandparent parent, how cruel is that? I mean, it's just awful.
And
So
people pay it. And people pay.
yeah, that's crazy.
This was 10 years ago that I'm remembering a complaint about this, and the person paid the money.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is horrible.
So
So
when you get all
David,
these text messages, what do you do with them? Like, I get them. I was looking the other day. I got one. It was like, oh, my U.S. Customs is holding up my package with the UPS because my zip code is off. I'm like, wait, how did Customs get my cell phone number? Oh, wait a minute. How did the post office get my cell phone number?
oh wait, I don't have a package. Oh, wait, just ignore
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. You can ignore, block it. It's
block it.
spam. I mean,
But
if
if
you
you
didn't,
okay, I usually hit spam. I hit spam and block or
yeah,
report
That
and
helps.
block. But that
yep,
doesn't
that's
seem
right.
to go anywhere.
I think it may just go. I'm not sure if it's like an internal
Like the
thing
FBI
for.
doesn't get a list of all these guys that have got phone numbers that are trying these.
we'd probably run out of hard drive space. Probably. And it's just everybody. I mean, even us. I get tons of these calls and
So-
text messages
So we
all the
have a
time.
co-
Just
we have-
ignore them.
We have a comment here from Nelson. I think
He
going
said that, yeah,
forward, you
touch my
should
notes, I
all-
got it.
Oh, he's
okay.
real.
No one else can see this, so I'm telling the people who are listening. He said, I think going forward, you should all touch your noses at the beginning of each webinar just to put us at ease. So from now on, when Kevin and I start this show, we'll have to
Yeah.
touch our noses.
Yeah, there you go. So Michael, is there really a beekeeper division of FBI?
Oh my God, I asked him this before. Okay, if you
If
don't
there
have
was,
any
I wouldn't know about it. I don't know about it. I don't know
You
anything
wouldn't know
like
about
that.
it, huh? The secret division, huh?
We do have cryptocurrency. We do have cryptocurrency experts, and other agencies do as well. And we're not just working alone on these things. We're also working with other federal, state, local agencies, and we're trying to collaborate to help
And are you able to
to help
bust
stop these things.
these big offshore operations? Are you FBI have able to break into them, arrest them, or is it because they're offshore, there's nothing you can do?
So there are certain countries that do cooperate with U.S.
Uh-huh.
law enforcement, but not all foreign
We bombed the
countries
other ones. That's
cooperate.
okay.
Yeah, so we're any kind of overseas cooperation. It's at discretion of their government or private company.
Right.
So that's why we're really focusing on stopping these things before they happen. But for victims who do lose money, we encourage them to report it on IC3.gov, and then we're also working with other agencies to try to stop these things and hopefully sometimes try to claw back some of the money from the victims.
Okay, so I just want to take a moment and go back to the beekeeper reference because not everybody knows that was a movie. It was a very, very violent,
But it was a good violent movie.
wish that would happen to these guys. Anyway, it was a movie that it was around this subject, but the reaction of this particular person was a little off the charts. But I don't know. After you see some of these scams, you're like, all right, I could get behind some of that. So anyway, that's what he was talking about, the beekeeper thing. So with that being said, I mean, and as far as the countries that, are cooperating, those are not typically the countries that these guys are really operating out of in volume, right? They prefer to go to a country that doesn't cooperate, don't they?
So yeah, so I mean, many times. So in the beekeeper, from my recollection, a lot of the call centers were here in the U.S. But
Yeah.
From my
That's
experience and
unlikely.
from my knowledge, and any of the people who are listening online, they can get on an internet search engine and look up pig butchering and look up compounds. But many of these places, they're overseas, they're compounds. Many of the people there are being held against their will. So they're being told that, hey, this is a normal job, this and that. And then when they get there, many times their passports are taken from them and they're forced to work. They're forced to work really long hours, and they're forced to scam people. Many of them are beaten, probably worse. So that's kind of the reality behind a lot of these call centers. They are being controlled by organized crime groups that are overseas many times.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, that is the tragedy. And I didn't know that. Again, he's referencing the bit that John Oliver did on where is he? He's on HBO, right? Is that HBO Max?
I think so.
I think that's where you can Google it, John Oliver, pig butchering. And it's really, even though he's funny, it's a really, really good explanation of what's happening. And then it gives you a whole different perspective on it. So we talked about this previously with regard to elder abuse and what's going on with that. And it's funny because the person in my family who is going through this right now, and I just have completely had to wash my hands of it because they won't listen. Like I'd sent them this pig butchering video.
Yeah,
Countless articles. I'd sent them, I kept telling them. They heard it from their investment company. They had the sheriff visit them, and they made it into everybody else being wrong and them being right. And so it's really interesting with some of these situations because you want to help you want to protect the elderly, you want to protect people, but they have to allow you to help them. And we were teaching NMLS the other day, and
Yeah, and someone had
there
it.
was someone in there who had the same experience with her mother, who she had told her everything and the woman would not listen. And so it's just like, oh yeah.
Yeah, they just like a little bit at a time. Oh, I need some money to get, airfare. Can I have $700? It's really simple stuff. And then it kind of grows and grows.
Yep. Yeah. And we have a comment here from a listener who said that they had a borrower who texted them every time they got an email to make sure it was legit. I mean, that could be a little much,
over the top.
but do not discourage your clients if that's their comfort level and that's what they want to do. Take the time with them, because let me tell you, Joe Schmo at the call center, they're not going to do that for them. Do something that helps you stand out because you really are caring about their well-being and making sure that they're protected. So, I mean, do we want to have a text every time they get an email? Maybe not, but if that's where we have to go to protect everyone,
I think I like your timeout rule. If you send me documents in my email, I'll put you in timeout.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay. That is something I do.
Yeah, I know.
I am really clear with people. I tell them, do not email me anything.
Actually, I'm going to change my text from don't email me anything to don't email anybody anything. Assume everyone's emails are hacked.
And when I say don't email me anything, I meant
documents.
I'm with your personal information on it.
Yes.
Because it is not enough to say upload your documents to the secure link. That is not clicking for them. You have to say, do not email me anything with an account number or any of your personal private information at all. And so again, I'm super clear as what a shocker, right? I occasionally will threaten them and tell them I'll put them in timeout. Certain clients are special and I'll tell them I'll beat them if they do that. So anyway, it is do whatever your style is of conveying the message. I joke around with them, but then I'm like, but I'm deadly serious. I am really super clear, and you've got to say it multiple times, period. So
hey, Michael, since we're in the mortgage business, is there any particular frauds that are geared towards the mortgage industry these days from the fraudsters? I mean, obviously, you mentioned a little bit how our emails are, rich in data and such. But is there anything in particular, like way back in the day, there was all these appraisal scams where they'd fake the values and that kind of stuff. But is there any particular scams that we should be looking out for right now that are kind of high on the FBI's list?
So yeah, no, we recently had a big case where people's identities were stolen and their houses were actually stolen. It also actually involved notaries who weren't being forthright, who accepted people who shouldn't have been. They knew weren't the people that were signing them, and they still let them sign the document. So that's another thing.
wait, whoa. Hang on. I want to make sure we are clear. What?
So
the notaries were not legit, but who did what to whom?
So I'll just start from the beginning. So the subjects in this case actually worked with somebody who worked at a car dealership, who was getting who had people's personal PII, personal identifiable information, and they were giving them to one of the bad guys. And then the bad guy stole, created fake IDs, used a notary to get, and they recruited people off the street to act as these people in order to transfer property to themselves and steal the money.
They would. Oh, wow.
That's the one that tried to steal some major buildings like Graceland, and I've heard some big thefts, attempted thefts at least. And it's even easier to steal a skyscraper than it is someone's house, because if someone's house are still there, right? they're gonna get upset if someone else shows up and say, wait, I'm thinking about buying this house. No, it's not for sale. But if you show up to a skyscraper, there's no one to meet you at the door saying, yeah, you can't buy the skyscraper, you know?
Yeah, no, and we just encourage, you know, I've talked to other agencies, I've talked to other agencies that specialize in the mortgage fraud, and they just suggest, you know, doing the, you know, just doing due diligence and checking public records all the time
Yeah.
for what's been recorded and things like that. So, you know, every jurisdiction is different on how they handle transfers of property. So just staying on top of those things. If all of a sudden you're not getting your property tax bill or whatever, you
Well,
know,
that happened to me.
staying on top of that.
Yeah, I changed my title. I own a property with a brother-in-law, and we put it. My wife and I put our name into a trust. And when we did that, the county took my brother-in-law's name off a title accidentally.
Oh,
I was like, wow, that was that easy.
yeah. Wow.
I did. You're out of luck.
So according to the FBI's 2023 Internet Crime Complaint Center, there were 9,521 real estate-based fraud complaints. That was more than what was recorded for malware, data breaches, inheritance schemes, and ransomware. So it's a big number. And the dollar amounts associated with them are huge, like $145 billion. And so you really have to make sure, I mean, and again, maybe this is something you do. Maybe you pull a property profile on someone and just call and say, hey, just wanted to tell you, I'm checking up with you, checking in on you. Make it part of your annual review with them that you're doing. God, it's such a good idea. I wish I was doing it myself. Make it part of your annual review where you, once a year, you get on the phone, you make sure that everything is exactly what they need in their life, and make sure that you've checked to see if, was there anything recorded on my property, on their property this year, something like that. So it is, because this deed fraud, and again, to Kevin's point, Graceland, somebody was trying to scam someone out of Graceland. And then there was this woman in, I don't know, North Carolina or something, but it's happening all over the country, and it's just mind-boggling. I don't understand how you think you can steal a piece of property.
Well, you don't need it.
Cannot be moved. You can't put it in your pocket. You can't
Yeah,
drive
but you can
away.
do a loan against it and walk away. That's what they do.
Well, but yeah, but I mean, you're in place for a while, and it is, it just blows my mind, just completely blows my mind. We have a comment from somebody who's asking, how can we protect ourselves when TransUnion's getting hacked? Which is a great point. And it's actually one of the things that we talked about on our cybersecurity show, which was, you know, like for me, I actually invested, don't do the free protection, you know, pay money to get the extra, whatever it is. At least you're doing something, when your compliance part of your company says, do this or don't do that, or be careful of that, follow their directions. I agree. It's very difficult to protect yourself, but we at least have to try, right? So it is, I mean, it's just daunting, isn't it? Just daunting. So let's talk about what you're seeing around fraud within the mortgage business, like things that LOs are doing or borrowers are doing that we should be aware of, and what to look out for.
So some of the more recent ones, and they're probably common even from years back, but just, you know, somebody is trying to buy a house. Maybe they really are only making $50,000 a year, but the loan officer puts them down for making maybe $150,000 a year. And there's other frauds that are have been common and have happened in the past. Haven't seen them as much lately, but they falsify the documents, you know, and it's pretty easy to do that. It was easy years ago, and I can only imagine now it would probably be easier to falsify documents.
But they're catching it. I mean, we're talking about this a lot this year in our NMLS training, because like Fannie Mae is catching a lot of this. The borrowers are self-reporting. That's an interesting thing, where they'll see something on their application or somewhere and it's not correct, and they will report it. And
really?
so it is, I just don't understand why people think they can get away with this, even though I guess they are.
Well,
But
I had an interesting call this week. We were talking about this yesterday, where a loan officer called me and said, hey, in the class you were teaching a couple of years back, you said that, you know, a loan officer can't tell someone, well, you're going to need to make $120,000 to qualify for this loan, and then kind of guide them in filling out the loan application so that they put $120,000 as their income. You know, so it's, we just talked about it's like how that's not wrong. We had a guest when we did a big event back when we were presidents of camp. Remember the guest we had that was a loan officer that served some time, and he would, what he noticed was he had a real estate agent was referring him all these borrowers, and he would tell the borrowers, well, if you want to buy that house, you need to show you're making $120,000, whatever the number was. And sure enough, they'd all come back with that was the exact to the penny their income. And that's when he started noticing there's something wrong with this. And he ended up getting arrested for fraud. You know, even though he wasn't the one putting the numbers down on the application, he was just kind of guiding the clients, and they were taking his lead. And you know, sure enough, he got that knock on the door from the FBI and served 7 years. So no longer.
Okay, so it was interesting with him too, though, because there were some warning signs, and one of them was he never met these people. Like, he didn't know them, like he would never be able to see them and know who they were. So it's all over the telephone, and it was all, you know,
And this was back in the day.
Anonymous. Yeah, it was back in the day. And actually, he finally cut that relationship off because he got a bad feeling. And then like 4 or 5 years later, it wasn't a knock on the door, it was a phone call. Hello, this is so-and-so at the FBI. We're going to be arresting you this afternoon at, you know, 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or something like that. And so, I mean, can you freaking imagine? And then, you know, I mean, when we had him come and speak at our event, he was working at a Amazon distribution center in Arizona. So it completely changed the entire trajectory of his life, to put it mildly. But again, we are seeing this and hearing about this. And we were talking about a case out of New Jersey that just got filed a few weeks ago with a big heavy hitter who has been in Scotsman's Guide, you know, top LO in the country, and just got indicted for a bunch of things. And I'm going to imagine the list of charges is going to grow based on what we're seeing and the volume he was doing. So the lenders are investigating it. They're reporting it. The GSEs, the investors, Fannie, Freddie, whoever your investor is, they're looking into it. The borrowers are reporting it. I mean, why would you jeopardize your career, your reputation, for God's sake? It just makes zero sense at all. So again, okay, so we were talking about this again in a class. There's a lot going on in these classes. So the idea that you're supposed to report, it's, you know, we were raised, don't snitch, don't narc on people. You're not a tattletale. Don't do that, right? It was a bad thing when we were kids. Don't tell on your brother. It's really a point that was driven home for a lot of us. So the idea of telling on someone is rough for a lot of people, but it's more important that we make sure that we get those people out of our profession. And so it's a shift, right? So if you are in a situation where you know that something is going on that shouldn't be happening, you know, you're the FBI. We also have regulators. Do you report to everyone? Do you report to one entity? What do we do? Like, yeah.
So yeah, as we talked about earlier, any kind of internet related crime, definitely report it on ic3.gov. So, and also I don't think we mentioned this, but if you feel like you've been a victim of a internet related crime, report it on ic3.gov, and then also notify the financial institution. And if you can, call them first. If you can do two things at once, call the bank, file a report on ic3.gov. ic3.gov, there is a chance if you report it fast enough that they'll be able to claw back some of the money or all of it.
Now, how fast
it's worth a try.
enough?
So definitely within 72 hours if you can. Even if it's after that, I still encourage people to report internet-related crimes on ic3.gov, and then that way there's a central repository where all of these complaints are and potential connections can be made. And then for non-internet related federal crimes, there's another website. It's tips.fbi.gov. That's another reporting tool. Other jurisdictions, whether also another option could be local law enforcement, or reporting to the state. I know you guys have Department of Real Estate, right? For other types of violations and
Yeah,
things.
Department
Yeah,
of
actually,
Real
yeah,
Estate,
and
CFPI.
Department of Real Estate has a fund for victims if they are damaged by the work of a licensed person who's either loan officer or a real estate agent. They actually have a fund that they can tap into to give the victims aid. That's California DRE at least. I don't know if
We
the
also have the CFPB, we have the DFPI, and every state has other, their
Yep.
own state regulatory agencies. So again, and a lot of them are talking to each other, but don't count on that. Make sure that you're letting everyone know who needs to be alerted. So I just want to take a minute and just talk for a second about the jobs report. Sorry, Michael, just give me a minute. So we got the jobs report on Friday. It was not what anyone expected, and certainly nothing that we have seen in the last, I don't remember how long. So I'm not sure if it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few months and years.
Wait, isn't this the last jobs report before the
Oh my God, I don't listen. I am so not a conspiracy person, and this one gave me pause. I'm like,
I'm
all
saying
of a sudden
conspiracy.
it's sunshine and roses, and I mean, it's really interesting. But what is really important is that the Fed members who have been speaking in the last couple of days are indicating that they are really taking it with a grain of salt. They don't seem to be fazed at all by this jobs report, which again was just very beautiful. And that they're really staying the course as far as the cuts that they're expecting in the future. So, November, another 25 basis points, probably same in December. And again, don't forget, so tomorrow we have mortgage applications, we have a 10-year auction, and we have the Fed minutes being released from the last meeting. But more importantly, on Thursday, we have CPI coming out, and on Friday, we have PPI. Those are big reports, guys, and they do move the market. So just keep your fingers, just keep watching, keep your fingers on the pulse is what I was thinking. I think that's what I was gonna say. Anyway, but watch and pay attention, because the idea is we should still be on a downward trajectory as far as rates go, but just like they never go straight up or straight down, it's going to be a bumpy ride in whatever direction we're going. So just hang in there and make sure you use this time to get your clients ready to go, so that the next time there's a dip, that they take advantage of it. And also just a little warning about helping them not be too greedy, because it's funny because I see everyone talking about, oh, well, if only the rates would get down to 6%, if only the rates would get to, then all this stuff would happen. And this is my experience in 375,000 years of doing loans. It doesn't matter what the rate is. They're always going to want what the next half a point
Eight
lower,
less, yeah.
lower.
Yeah.
They're never, ever going to be satisfied with where we are when they think it could go lower. So maybe this little blip up has been good for borrowers, because they see that it is not just a given that they're going to get some rate. It's not going to last forever. And also, make sure that we aren't lulled into complacency and we're not thinking, oh, well, I'll just lock it whenever, right? So it is, yeah. So just pay attention to that. The jobs reports were really a little odd last week. And again, going into CPI and PPI this week is going to be interesting. CoreLogic's home appreciation index came in. It was, we're at 3.9% appreciation year over year. Let's just go with that. This time of year, the appreciation slows down a little bit. And actually we expected to continue to do this a little bit, but it's not a crash. It's just a stabilization. And I'm fine with 3 or 4% appreciation at this point. So just wanted to make sure that, oh, there were a couple other things. Okay. Just a quick note. Borrowers expect us to respond to them in 10 minutes or less. I read this and I'm like, holy guacamole, because obviously none of us have anything else to do, but that is the expectation when they are calling someone for a loan. And if you are buying leads, it is seconds, like literally, because if you're not doing it, the other 5 million people who bought the lead, they're on it already. So just be really aware of that and don't dilly dally with returning phone calls if you don't get them right, as they're calling. And then the other little thing I just didn't want to have another week go by on is you got to read your broker agreements that you have with your wholesalers for the EPO, whatever the terms are, because lenders are changing their agreements. Let's start with that. They may be asking you to sign a new agreement, read
Yeah,
it.
they're
read
adding
what
it,
the
they're
it
going from
says.
6 months to 12.
But the other thing too is some of these lenders are charging on EPOs, even the ones who were borrower paid. So do not think, oh, it's borrower paid, I'm fine. You're not fine necessarily. You might be, but read your agreement. So I know it sounds basic, but it is a huge problem right now. I just want to make sure nobody's getting caught, just read them. Read what you're signing, which is what we're telling our borrowers.
I had a question while we still have Michael here. Michael, so I know the two main charges, anytime someone does something fraudulent, that the two main charges they get are either mail fraud or wire fraud, because those hold the biggest penalties, correct? Or one of the main penalties.
Those are very commonly used in white collar crimes. Another one that's common that some of the cases I've worked and that I've seen work is the use of the bank fraud statute, because it's 10 years. It's a 10-year statute.
Bank fraud. Okay. So what happens when they use Bitcoin to commit fraud? They haven't used a bank, they haven't used a wire, and they haven't used mail, US mail.
I think when involving crypto, when you're doing something in, I'm not a crypto expert, but there has to be something done online typically, because
Probably a bank fraud
to send crypto. So there would be there definitely could be a wire in there. If they're using banks to fund, fund a fraudulent crypto transfer or a criminal act, then potentially a bank fraud there. So a wire or bank.
Okay.
Why is that important, Kevin?
Why is that important? Because otherwise, well, I'm trying to figure out how to commit fraud, and I knew not to avoid the wire fraud. I knew to avoid the US mail fraud. So I was like, well, if I use Bitcoin, then maybe I can get around all that.
Oh my God. Okay, so somebody asked us to repeat the tip line, and it's tips.fbi.gov.
Yeah,
So tips.fbi.gov.
Michael put that in there.
What?
Michael put that in there while
Michael did put that in there,
Yeah.
but I don't believe our listeners can see it. So,
Oh no, they should be able to see it now because it goes to everyone. And
okay. So with all that being said, we when we had the cybersecurity expert on, they had suggested that everybody have an assessment done of their systems and processes before you have a problem, right?
Yes.
Michael, are you aware of like what's best practice around that?
For systems?
For businesses, like the best way to, again, back to the point of TransUnion's getting hacked. How do we protect ourselves? What's the best way?
It's just so common. The biggest and best companies are getting hacked, and I think they're not my area of expertise, but that's definitely something that everybody should take seriously. And there are subject matter experts in each field, and they should definitely use them for their cybersecurity and for protecting their customers' PII and protecting their intellectual property. And for protecting their funds, their money.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it true that when someone gets ransomware and they call the FBI, you guys will tell them, well, these particular guys that are ransomwaring you are better players than most, and yeah, if you pay them, they'll most likely release the funds, or oh, these guys have a reputation of asking you for more money after you give them the money. Is that kind of how the
I'm not a subject matter expert in that, but I don't believe that. And I don't work that area, but I don't believe that that's not the guidance that we would give for ransomware ransomware victims. Yeah,
I've heard that from a couple places. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
In other news, the EPA, did you see this morning? the APA has decided that in the next decade, that would be 10 years, kids, they're going to require that all lead pipes be removed, period. Okay, I just want to think about that for a minute. Think about it. So apparently the US government thinks this is going to cost $45 billion with a B, that'd be 45 billion.
Okay, you can pay it through your
The-
water bills, no big
The
deal.
utilities industry thinks it's going to at least be double that amount.
Uh-huh.
I'm just trying to figure out the logistics because this is going to involve our homeowners. It's going to involve our business owners. I don't
Actually,
know
no, it doesn't require that homeowners replace their pipes. It only requires the utilities replace their pipes.
Do you don't think that will trickle down and the homeowners won't pay for it?
People like the taste of lead. It tastes good.
Oh my God. Anyway, so I was a little blown away by that. I mean, not to say that it's a bad idea. I just think it's a little aggressive that we have a decade to do this and I'm gonna guess there's no real plan on how to accomplish it. So it is, I just thought that was like, okay, there we go. So,
Hey guys, I can throw in on the ransomware, some of the ransomware stats. I
Great.
have a recent cyber presentation. So, and not sure on it looks like it's pretty recent. So I think we're pretty good on the on approximately. It said the percentage of companies that got their data back after paying the ransom was 8%.
8%.
Which is really low. And then it also has there's also a stat in here, percentage of organizations deciding to pay the ransomware, and that was 32%. So that was some of the those are some of the stats.
Alternative, if you
So you
don't.
have a 25% chance of getting your money back if you pay.
What was that?
So basically you're saying with an 8% data back and a 32% of the people paying, basically 1 in 4 get the money after they pay the ransomware. Although some probably get it back without paying because the crooks are nice people and they release.
Oh my God. Okay, that's ridiculous. So I mean, that's astounding, Michael. So like paying it is a total crapshoot and doesn't work out most of the time.
And that's what the stats here that I'm seeing.
Well, I mean, statistics never lie, right? God.
Can't lie with statistics. We know that.
Oh my goodness.
That's definitely
interesting.
I think the lesson learned is, nobody, whether personal or business or any entity or any person should not skimp on their cybersecurity, and they should take that really seriously.
And it involves more than just having insurance, more than just having software programs in your thing. It involves educating your employees, because a lot of time that's where it comes from.
And I think just letting the employees know. Another thing that I've forgotten to mention is just, when for anything, if somebody's rushing you to do something, nothing's worth losing your life savings over. So if it's like a business email compromise, nothing's worth losing your company over. Or you think you're going to lose your job because you think that the big boss of the company is telling you to do something, take that extra moment, call your supervisor, call your if you have doubts, call your supervisor, call your friend, call independently. Don't look at the email that you got. Don't call that number, but call it independently, verify the number, and call that person and say, hey, are you telling me to send this wire?
Yeah. It really, Audrey, you had a story last week. So, when we were active in the California Mortgage Association, and we were, president, incoming presidents, treasurers, and all that, we would get these emails saying, hey, Audrey, this is Kevin. Can you send me, I'm doing an event. Can you forward me $1,000? And here's here's my Venmo number or something like that. And, we quickly learned that these guys are all, spammers and scammers. But recently, Audrey, you got one that was really good. Other than the fact you were no longer active in the association, so you knew that it wasn't correct.
Yeah, it mentioned not just the president back then, but it mentioned the person who was treasurer at the same time, which I thought, oh, that's taking it to a whole new level. you know, the fact that they're like 4 years behind as far as the person who is in place is beside the point, but it is ongoing. So I just want, if you go, we have a YouTube channel, Mortgage Pros 411. Go to the YouTube channel, watch the video if you missed it that we did with Shauna Fippen. She's with Redbox, and it is the cybersecurity company, and they will do an assessment of your systems. And by the way, this is not a paid announcement. We get paid absolutely nothing. But I'm just saying this for your own good, for your clients' security, for your reputation, which is one of the biggest parts of having these cybersecurity incidents, is your reputation just gets thrashed and people don't trust you anymore. And so they're going to, I mean, people want to know that you're looking out for them. So again, we've given you some ideas on that, but we cannot overstate this. I feel like we've been just beating this drum for months.
Yeah,
And
actually
we had somebody come on and talk about cyber insurance. We've had cybersecurity. We have the FBI. We have compliance people. We have, but I hope the messaging is getting through, because this is something that is so big and such an important part of what we're doing right now. And going forward, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And I keep campaigning for going back to, I don't know, analog, a fax machine with a landline. I don't know, something that you can't tap into. Well, I guess you could tap into it, Michael, but you know, the average criminal probably wouldn't be able to. There's got to be some solution. I can't figure out what the heck it is. I mean, yeah, please, if there's something we've missed that we should know, Michael, tell us now.
No, I think with emerging technologies, we really need to take great care in all the actions that we take in our life, and we need to spread the word. And I'd suggest be proactive. Go on that website, ic3.gov, and read up on all the common scams. Do it for yourself, do it for your clients, and then spread the word, because it's a lot easier to get through to somebody before the scammers have gotten to them and
That's right.
have kind of got their hooks in.
If they've already fallen in love with someone on a website, it's too late to tell them that that's about to take their money. So anyway, all right. All right. Well, Michael, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for all the information. We really appreciate it. Keep us posted on things that we should know about.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. Yes. So
Great. Thank you.
Go get loans. Go close loans. Don't worry about the rates. Just does it cash flow? Can they afford it? All right. Michael, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Take
Have
care.
a great week. Bye,
You
guys.
too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.